Okay, I am so happy that you have joined me today, Maureen. For those listening, this is Maureen Sweatman. She's a friend and colleague here in Atlanta and has a coaching practice that I often refer to my own self, my clients to. She does some really good work helping people reframe their lives and their visions for themselves. So I think you have some special work to do during these COVID times. And that's why I wanted to get some messaging from you in particular, because you have your eye on the economic impact and realities that we're also dealing with. So, Maureen, let me just let you start. What do you have to say to us today?
Yeah, so through my joyful living coaching practice, part of my philosophy is to help clients reframe their thinking about career and their whole life. Remind them that career is one piece. It might feel like a big and sometimes painful piece, but that it's one piece, and help them reframe in the places where they get stuck. And a great way to do that is to get in touch with your strengths and your fears, believe it or not, because our fears are often the barriers from us applying our strengths. And so if you don't have someone to help you know what those are, if you can't articulate them, I highly suggest working with a coach or a friend that can help you mirror and know those for yourselves. Because once you know those, you can then set SMART goals for yourself. So realistic goals. The difference between everybody knows that I'm going to lose 50 pounds type goal that doesn't work versus the I'm going to go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays after work goal that actually works. So you can map your strengths, kind of taming those fears, acknowledging those fears, to then create goals for yourself, for your life and your career that yield the results you want. But it really requires some reframing on our part to get there.
So right now, are you seeing some particular kinds of fears that people are having that's different than other times?
Absolutely. So one of the differences is the fears are more intensified. So there might always be a fear of, am I good enough? Or is there enough, right? Scarcity mindset issues. But now that's heightened with all the news and all the scariness out there and all the grief. And so it just gets compounded. And so the process is still the same. It's really tapping into what are your strengths, knowing that you can tell your story best, and knowing that you have the power to push past those fears. Fears serve a purpose, but we go kind of off in the ditch when we let them drive.
Right, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you helping people tap into new joys also, even though the economic times are difficult, or they're afraid they will be difficult?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's kind of two big camps to generalize. There's some folks that really want to use this time to be productive and do more and tap into what's their vision and run with it, kind of dream big. And there's privilege that comes with that. And then there are other folks who just need to kind of scale back, withdraw, reflect, honor the grief and the emotions that are happening. And regardless of which camp you're in, working with you to be where you are, be authentic, get really grounded in what you need, and get you the resources you need to move to the next phase of it for yourself.
Yeah. Speaking of resources, do you have some general resourcing that you are providing right now during the ramifications of the economic impacts and realities?
Yeah, absolutely. So on my Facebook page, I try to regularly post both inspirational kind of quotes and resources, particularly from LinkedIn around the job search, because now is more critical than ever to actually know how to conduct a proper modern job search, particularly for folks who may be more established in their career and they did it one way 10 years ago or longer, and it's different now. So following Joyful Living Coaching on Facebook is one way, or Instagram is one way to get some of those resources from me directly. The other thing that I have reminded clients is, there's tons of articles right out there right now, tons of opportunities to upskill for those that are in that mode of wanting to do more and more and more. There's a recent Forbes article that gave some great advice that said, be realistic, but also be optimistic. And for me, that signals kind of this reframing of, yes, it can be big, yes, it can be daunting, but you can keep reframing your mindset, which is always true.
Yeah.
When I'm working with my clients, because they often come to me at a point of pain. They're either kind of wandering and don't know what's next, or
Yeah.
they've gotten that boss that's made them rethink everything. And so it's all about reframing what's next. And so that's one resource. I also recently heard a talk given by Gabby Bernstein, and she talks about a choosing again method for this reframing. And the 3 steps that she talks about are, 1, to recognize what are those limiting beliefs, those limiting stories that we tell ourselves that block, we get in our own way. And the second step is to forgive yourself for that, right? Cut yourself some slack. Everybody does it. And if you can't forgive yourself, forgive the thought, right? Just take the self out of it if you need to. And then third, to choose the next best feeling thought.
Oh,
Right? The idea that you can't go from despair to joy in one fell swoop.
right.
Kind of thinking along the Abraham Hicks emotional guidance scale,
Okay.
what if you went up from despair to anger, right? That's a better feeling. It's not a great one, but you keep working your way up the kind of the cone there until you get onto the positive side of it. And eventually joy is at the top. And the critical piece in there is the choosing, right? So when you have that moment, you hear that story pop up, reframe it for yourself and keep doing it till you've trained your brain that eventually it just bypasses that story altogether and it's not real anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, she tells the example. One of the examples she gave was, she was doing this book tour. Her schedule is packed. So she was whining to her husband backstage and he just said, stop it. Right? It's great to have those people in our lives that'll say, okay, stop. And she said, you're right. The choose again method is, man, I shouldn't tell myself that this is a problem, right? It's a great thing. And so the next best feeling thought was to see it as opportunity. So yes, it might be a crazy schedule. It has a limit, but it's the opportunity to actually do what she loves and what brings her joy and is using her strengths in the world. And so, but she had to reframe that for herself because it's easy to jump to kind of that reptilian part of our brain that goes to that fear, those limiting beliefs. And so, folks sometimes push back on me that I'm working with and say, well, it's easy to say choose joy. And I think it is, but I usually push back and say the focus is on the choose, whereas most people focus on the joy.
Wow.
Focus on your power to choose. So whether that's the choose again method, or there's lots of methods out there for kind of doing this reframing work. And so part of my work helping clients figure out, well, which ones work for you, right? And there's a whole plethora of them. But I just really like the way Gabby had shared that kind of easy to understand methodology. But again, focusing on, you do have the power to choose in any given moment the next best feeling thought. Again, it doesn't have to be like the ultimate joy. It can be, but don't feel the pressure of, I got to go from I'm in this depressing moment
Yeah.
to, right? It's not going to magically do that, but it can work its way up to that. Yeah. And the power is in the choosing. And
Now,
keep choosing.
this is
Grow
great.
that muscle.
Grow that choosing muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is
Exactly.
really wonderful messaging in a time like this, because I think people get
Yeah.
stuck, as you were saying, in certain mindsets and fears and anxieties, that you forget that you can stop that mental barrier.
Chatter.
Yeah, the
Yep.
chatter. Yeah, and
Turn the chatter off.
turn the chatter off. That's good.
Yeah,
You have,
absolutely.
I know you have
Absolutely.
a background in theology and also in business, and you've done career development, and I know you're a good mom, and you've been a good colleague to many, and so when you think about healthcare providers and pastoral leaders and leaders rising up in every sector of society right now, what is the, from your coaching uh, business model, what is the one uh, theme that's running through because of COVID-19 that you would like to convey?
I think it's probably staying tapped into, regardless of industry, regardless of where you find yourself, whether
Mhm.
you're in that privileged category of having lots of time or you're in that category of you've been laid off or what have you, is staying tapped into the power to choose and to not let fear derail you. Fear is always there. It's not going to go anywhere. It might be heightened right now, but really use and rely on your resources. And if you feel like you're scrambling for those, to reach out and have someone help you. You know, do some internet research, reach out to a colleague, a friend, a mentor, a coach, and get those resources that you need. And at the end of the day, going back to that Forbes article, be realistic and optimistic. That's really where the hope is. It's okay to say, you know, it just really stinks right now. The good news is it won't stink always.
Yeah,
Joy does come.
that's good. Yeah, that's a, there's a psalm, right? Joy comes in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And we get there faster if we choose it
that's
instead
good.
of waiting on some random destination. Yeah, choose it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Maureen Sweatman. I appreciate you.